welcome to another episode of Adding Perspective with Josh. I'm Josh.
Coach Nrgy.
What up, y'all? I'm Black Egypt.
Yes, sir. There you go. Yes.
So today's topic, we're going to talk about personal goals. So we're going to talk a little bit about, can your partner or spouse hinder or stop you from achieving your personal goals for yourself, right? So if you're in a relationship or a marriage and you have your own set of personal goals for yourself, like the things that you really want to achieve, is it possible, right? Like, is it still possible for you to achieve these goals while you're in those situations? So what do you guys think? Like, do you think that's still possible? Is it like, okay, once you get like committed to someone, you gotta just stop, right?
Yeah. Do us a favor and give us some examples for us and the listeners, examples of personal goals.
Okay, so let's just say that you want to open up your own trucking company, right? And that's been your dream forever, to buy you a big rig and start that whole process. But what happens is you get into a relationship and the things that come along with the relationship happen. So, and depending on what form of relationship you're in, it might be like more things like, maybe a house or even bills, or if you have kids with this particular person, it may be family things, right? So you have all these things that start happening within the relationship that prevent you from focusing on your own personal stuff, right? So does that mean that just because you have so many things happening between the relationship dynamic, does that mean that you have to put your stuff on the back burner, right? Like, you have to put your stuff on the back burner to handle the relationship goals stuff, right?
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Black Egypt, you want to start off with this one?
Why not?
Uh,
So, of course, I think someone you are in a relationship can stop you from achieving your goals. 100%. I think there has to be some type of balance, right? Um, or within your relationship, that dynamic you have. But for me, um, I've always struggled with that in relationships because I feel like I'm trying to commit to two things, and I don't know how to balance it out most of the time. So I get frustrated and I'll get turned off, and I just be like, I'm done. So there is no resolution here recently. Yeah, struggle.
um, but I mean, honestly, I think my perspective on that particular question is that I think sometimes from a relationship standpoint, it's easy to get locked into pleasing the other person, I think.
Mm.
Um, and sometimes I think you just kind of, I think sometimes I guess we kind of slip into that. And the only reason why I can say that is because I've been accused of that in the past, per se, where I had this thing that I kind of wanted to accomplish for myself. And because I was so into the relationship and so into the person, I kind of forgot all about, that other aspect of my life that I kind of wanted to actually achieve. And honestly, it took me some time to kind of figure out that balance, because I think that's what it is. It's a balancing act between making sure that you offer enough relationship time and then have enough time for yourself at the same time. And what I found was I had to end up talking more, right? Like, I had to end up expressing some of the things that I wanted to do for myself more to the other person, for them to understand where I was coming from instead of me just going out there and actually doing it. But that's kind of what ended up happening with me in that particular situation, right? So, but what you think, Angie?
I'm right there with both of you. It's happened to me before too. I've been terrible at not stopping whatever progress I may have been on, in order to, just maintain or make the other person happy, or just do whatever it takes to, keep the relationship afloat. I've been terrible at that in the past. So yes, to answer your question, can someone stop you from achieving your personal goals? Yes, it can happen. And however, I want to be a little bit careful about saying, can someone else stop you? Because at the end of the day, it's our choice.
Yeah.
I really truly believe that, of course, there are some extenuating circumstances where someone else can literally stop you from achieving your personal goals. However, just in general, we, as the person, as the individual, I've learned that we're the ones who actually stop ourselves, because we choose to, you know, to not pursue things. We choose to put a pause on whatever we were doing, whatever progress that we had made before the relationship came into place. So yeah, that's my perspective on that.
Yeah. So these extenuating circumstances where somebody can stop you from doing that. What do these things look like, right? Like, what are those extenuating circumstances where somebody can physically stop you from achieving these goals?
Yeah, abusive relationships,
Okay.
financial abuse, physical abuse, emotion, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I would say that, yeah, too.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, those are some things that can prevent you from doing that. I would also probably add like fear,
Yeah.
like fear of the unknown, you know?
Yeah. But
So
that's still within self though. But yeah,
yeah.
Mhm.
yes.
Mhm. Yeah. I think that's I guess that adds to what you were saying, I guess.
I think for me is really the balancing, right? Because I think sometimes the person you may be with doesn't quite understand your goals, right? Or your dreams or aspirations. So sometimes they may want to spend, you know, 15 hours in a day with you, and you have to sleep and work and then focus on your dreams. So you're trying to commit, you know, to someone a certain amount of time. They want all your time, just, I mean, it's exaggerating, but I think trying to balance that, like you said at first, where it works for the both of you all, that's the thing. And even sometimes it works where they say, okay, I get it, dedicate yourself to this for a certain amount of time or whatever, but it's still sometimes can be, I don't know if it's are you being selfish by spending more time with your dream than a relationship or in your relationship? Is that being selfish, or is it just the person you with just having that understanding? I think it's just hard sometimes depending on the person you with, because
Yeah.
could it be considered selfish?
To have personal dreams and goals.
No, to spend more time on your goals rather than paying attention to your relationship, in so many words.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at your relationship as a whole as being like 100%, like your relationship is 100%, and you spending 70% of that 100% on your personal goals, then obviously that equation is kind of out of whack, right?
No.
Because that means that you only spending 30% of that time inside of your relationship.
But that could be someone's reality, right? I
I
mean,
mean, it could, but honestly, though, depending on your situation, there has to be a lot of communication that goes along with that. Like a lot of it. Like you can't. I guess from a relationship standpoint, to me, and this is just my opinion, you a person who committed to being with someone else cannot just do certain things without communication, like without talking to the other person, because you made a verbal agreement with someone else to say that, hey, I want to share my life with you, or I want to have a relationship with you. So
So
you're pretty much hurting them, but helping yourself.
that's tough. You know, it's a tough situation because, you know, what if it gets, I don't know, because, you know, that's a tough situation because
It
I mean,
is.
even through communication still can be difficult because they just may not understand. And when do you get to a point where you just say, okay, that's enough? Because that's also the reality too. Because, you know, in some of the situations I've been in, they just, even if you communicate, it's just no understanding. It's very binary, right? And I don't know.
That's where, remember last week, with the topic we were talking about, you may have heard me say, for me, how important it was to be with someone whose values align with my values.
Mhm.
That's where that piece, that non negotiable that we were talking about last week, comes into play. Because if you're with someone who sees the importance, who sees your vision, who understands the value behind whatever your personal goal is, then that will make it a much smoother process of where you both are able to travel along that journey of you achieving your personal goal while they're there supporting you. And you won't, and you'll see where, they're right there with you, and so you'll find a way to incorporate time together in order to still preserve the relationship. However, if it's a situation where both people, your values are totally different and they're going in opposite directions, and what your personal goal is leading you in this direction, and the person whom you're with, they don't see the value in your goal that you're trying to achieve, they're not going to be there for you as supportive as they could be if they understood your vision, if they were in alignment with your vision, if they were in alignment with what you value, and vice versa, you being in alignment with what they value. So that's where, just kind of bringing in one of the topics from last week, that's where that becomes why it's so important. And like I was saying earlier today, I've been there where I lost all my creativity. I lost my perspective on what my goal was, what my deadlines were, and I just put it all to the side in order to focus primarily on the relationship. And I was so behind on my work and the projects that I had, until I learned the balance, and until I learned that I have to be with someone who's not going to pull me away from what my goal is, who's not going to pull me away from my vision, but they're going to be there to help support me and walk that journey with me, because they see the value in it and their values align with my values.
That's well said. I like that. See, I like that. um, but there's so many ways where I guess that question, depending on your relationship dynamic, can go either way. Like it really can. That question could really just go either way, depending on what that goal looks like. Um, and everybody's goal is different. To me, I think everybody's goal is different. And if your goal is, like I said, that for that example, like a trucking company or something like that, or any small business or whatever, you have to consider how much time that's actually going to take from you as a person, and then also your relationship. I mean, that's what I think, especially when you get into a brand new relationship with someone. If it's like a brand new relationship, you have to tell that person that up front. To me, that's my thing. Like you have to tell them up front. Like that's probably gonna be like a second or third date type situation. Like you need to tell them, hey, I'm working on this. I may not have a lot of time for you, right? Like I may not, I may not have a lot of time. At least they
Right.
know.
So
At least they know up front.
Yeah.
what if while, like, let's say you are a, you know, you have a truck driving business, and when do you get to a point, if it's getting, maybe if this is even possible, if it's getting too difficult to spend time with the person you with, you add them to the business? I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean that's a possibility too.
Yeah.
Um,
okay.
but you have to consider at what stage that happens.
Yeah.
Because that could be,
It could be bad too.
you know what I mean? Like there's ways where, there's ways where that equation works out, and then there's ways where that equation goes horribly wrong.
Yeah. And yeah, it can happen. It happens. I know plenty of people who wake up together, go to work together, come back home together, where they're around each other around the clock, and they don't have an issue with that time together. And that's where it will work if both people value quality time. And if both people, kind of going to the, I guess it's okay to say it on here, love languages, going to, what a person's priorities are, what's a person's top love language, top one or two. So if you are with someone who values quality time and you also value quality time, then when you're spending that time together, you both will see how that's valuable time together. And you're not going to look at it like, oh man, okay, we've been around each other for about 8 hours. When are we going to get a break? Having that break from each other won't necessarily be at the front of your mind, because you just, at the end of the day, enjoy being around that person because you enjoy time together, versus, if your top love language or preference or priority is acts of service versus the other person who's quality time, then you're going to have to really work hard to find a good balance in there. But it can absolutely happen. It's actually one of my inner heart's desires to actually find, be in a relationship, be in a marriage with someone who adores time together and who is open to working together as well. Because I think that is a beautiful dynamic type of situation.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but that's the thing though. I think that goes back to, I guess, what you were saying earlier when it came to, I guess, almost compatibility with the other person, and finding the person or being with that person that is able to, I guess, evolve with you. And that's a big thing. And I think a lot of that is communication. It is, especially initial communication.
Yeah. Setting a proper expectation for sure.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Because I think that that's the only way, especially from a long-term standpoint, you're able to defeat some of those hurdles. Because it's kind of hard to, get stuck on certain things when you've talked about it before, right? Like when you talked about it like months, even years before, it's kind of hard to get stuck on that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to me, personal goals, I think it's possible. It's always possible for you to achieve your personal goals. But I mean, I guess I'm one of those people that with personal goals or any goals, it's not going to be easy. It's always going to be a challenge to me.
Yeah. And even in those challenging times, like Black Egypt, when you were talking earlier, when you were saying with Josh and his example of a person who spends 70% of their time on their goal and only 30% in their relationship, that's going to throw things out of whack. That it can still work even in that situation if it's a temporary situation, and if both people are on board with the understanding of, okay, I may not be able to give all of this time to you or to our relationship, but it's only going to be for, 3 weeks or, a 30-day period, however long it takes. And as long as the other person fully understands and is in agreement with that, then during that time, they can work it out. And once they get on the other side, it can, the relationship can still work. But only if that imbalance is temporary.
I agree. I was recently reading a book called Promised Land by Obama. And if Obama and Michelle could do it, let me tell you.
Okay, here we go. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, to be the president and go through all that and still maintain a relationship with your kids and your wife. It drew me to that example. that it is definitely possible. And from my perspective, from reading it, even though Michelle necessarily didn't want to be, a president's wife, she found her specialty, right? Within that situation, she found her particular goal, as far as leading women, education. She found her niche, and it was, it just seems like it's definitely possible. It's just, I think it comes down to communication, and also what Nrgy said, the love languages. I think is something to pay attention to. Because I think that can help if you understand, communicate it. Because I mean it's something I still struggle with a little bit, as far as just the communication and understanding certain things, because sometimes I realize that two people can express their love differently, and someone can, like the love languages, right? Like acts of service can be like, this is how I show my love to you. And sometimes it can be overbearing, and you're like, well, dang, I'm spending so much time over here doing this, and I'm not giving as much. And so that can be, I guess, intimidating also, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So 70-30, to me, that seems like my reality. But I just being honest, because I'm always trying to figure out something, and then I have to rest. And there's just seems like not enough time in the day to dedicate to, again, I bought a planner, thank you, Nrgy, to help me refocus my life. Because it'll stress me out, where in the past where I just say I don't want to deal with it because it's much easier for me not to, and I'll just cut the situation off.
Yeah. And that's not healthy. And it can become a habit and a pattern, to where it starts to affect other areas of your life as well. But it's all about being intentional with time. You know how that saying goes, we make time for what we want to make time for. It's that simple, and being intentional about your time, even in relationships, for those relationships where time is kind of thin, it's helpful if both people are intentional, even with scheduling time together. Sometimes you just have to put it down in a planner. Sometimes you have to put it down on that calendar for that day and say, hey, between 2 and 4, that's us. We're going to go grab lunch together, whatever. Or by 6 o'clock, we're shutting devices off. We're done with work for the day, and it's just us, So being intentional, and whatever is important to you, you will make time for. And so, and when I say you, generally speaking, people will make time for. And it's just all about time management, just like we talked about last week as well.
Yeah.
So what you're telling me is that in the past, these people have not been important, right?
Correct. They weren't. You showed them, or you proved to yourself how important they were to you based off of, and that's not a bad thing, it's just the reality of things. So yeah.
So, something that kind of occurred to me while you guys were talking about this is that sometimes sometimes individuals may be with people that don't have personal goals. Like they don't have personal goals at all, but they're mad at you because you're pursuing your personal goals. You're doing your personal goals, but they ain't got any. So how do you address that, right? Because you could be the super motivated person, right? But the other person looking at you like, what you doing?
I don't do that. I just don't. It's because then you have a little bit of envy and jealousy coming in, and it's like, what you want me to do? I don't play that game. I just don't. Very straightforward to that. Would I play that game? Because that mean you bring more energies that shouldn't be involved. That negative energy starts coming into play, and then you're trying to negotiate. It just don't work for me.
I get it. Hey, I'm right there with you. I get it. And the way that I handle that situation, well, nowadays I don't find myself in that situation as often as I used to, because that's one of those getting to know you types of questions, or things that, I look to find out about a person before I make anything official with them. However, let's just say if I am in a relationship with someone who has no goals, me being who I am, I'm going to, help them, try to help them figure out, well, what are you passionate about? Do you know what your purpose in life is? Most likely they don't. If they don't, then if they allow me, I will help them, go through the process of figuring out what is it that they desire, what are their needs, their wants, their desires, their fantasies, whatever it is, and I will help them go through the process of figuring it out. So therefore, they get that spark back within themselves in that area.
You're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
See, but that's the thing, right? Like as coaches, right? As coaches,
yes,
that's part of your training, right? So as coaches, that's what you do. But as an everyday average individual, that's not what people do, right? See, so what people do on an average basis is that I have my personal goals. You don't have any goals. I'm going to pursue my personal goals, and you got to figure it out. Okay, like that's what people do.
That's true. That's true.
Yes.
I'm just saying, right? So it's like, if as an average person, like if a person doesn't have goals to work on, it's hard. It's hard to help someone, especially from a relationship standpoint, figure out certain things, because I found that even from a relationship standpoint, it's kind of hard to hear the truth from the person that you're next to, right? Like they people don't want to hear, you should do this or you should try this from the person that they're with, because I'm not sure if that's like an insecurity thing or people just don't want to hear it, or I don't know, but sometimes that doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. So sometimes from a relationship standpoint, you have to have at least an idea of what you want to do, like at least something. And then that person can help you with that. Like they can, put some building blocks on top of what you already have. But if you don't have an idea, like at least something, like something to work with, then to me, I mean, that's a non-starter. Like it's nothing you can actually do with that. Like it's not. And then that's when you go get a coach. Yeah, that's when you go get a coach. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. And that's why nowadays, like I was saying, for me, I don't put myself in those situations now.
Yeah.
2 points though. I can't remember the second, so I'll just say one. The person, I mean, how I was describing how I help a person, go through the process, that's just been who I am. That's who I've always been naturally, even before becoming a coach. It's kind of like that saying, what comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah.
I am a coach today because of who I am naturally, not the other way around. Because I'm a very analytical person. I like to figure out complicated things. I like to deep dive into very tough situations to, find a simple way of, resolving it. So I've just always been that way. And so that was who I was, and that's how I operate, even before becoming a coach. And so, the second point, and in doing that, especially being a coach now, remember I said that if the person allows me to assist them in discovering, what their desires are, what their passions are, then that's when I'll go through that process with them. It's very important that I get their buy-in, or that I get their permission, because I don't want to come off as being that person of who's saying, hey, well, you should do this or you should do that. Like, who am I to tell you, what you should or shouldn't do? And so I have to make sure that that person is willing, ready, and able, and willing to give me the permission to go through that process with them, especially now at this stage in life.
Yeah.
I'll try that.
Yeah. That's a good way to do it. Like it
I'm gonna
is.
try. Definitely try.
Uh, what you think that format works? Like the format that Nrgy said, that you think that works pretty good?
I do. I do. I do. I think it works. It's just, you know, so sometimes when you do that, you really like you have to like kind of work extra hard to kind of figure it out because they really don't know, right? And the person just maybe what's the word? Because when you ask a person, hey, what are your goals? Most of the time they're gonna say, I don't know. And they're gonna keep saying, I don't know. Right. And you have to really pay attention to them and kind of help them and direct them and lead them to something, right? And that's a lot of work. So
It
it's a lot of work.
it's not if it's done the right way. It can feel as if it's a lot of work if you bring it on and hold on to it and take possession of it as if it's your responsibility. But see, the important thing is just knowing and understanding that it's not your responsibility and that you can't care more about that person finding or discovering their goal than them. They have to always be ahead of you in the desire to want to find out what their goal is. So therefore it's not feeling as if you're trying to like drag them through the mud or anything like that, to
True.
get them to, give me something. You go at their pace, and a lot of times they'll learn more about their goals from just seeing you be who you are, and with you being in your element. Sometimes it's not even a verbal conversation or verbal exchange or process that you have to have with the other person. For some people, if they see you operate in your element, then that's when they'll start thinking about, oh man, I like this. Okay, now it's starting to come to me. They'll start to see things that, they never thought about before. They'll start thinking about things that they've never thought about before, just off of how you are operating in your element. So sometimes it's not even as deep as having a conversation and trying to go through the process of helping someone figure it out. Sometimes you just being you and you constantly achieving your goals will be what they need, that ignition for them.
Yeah. So what if I'm dating someone, or what if you're dating someone and you're good at communicating very well, and you're dating someone who's an artist and they really don't really push themselves, they're can sing their butt off, right? And you say, you know what, you should try, this round, right? Book your shows, get some shows. But they say, well, I'm a little shy. Can you call some people and get some shows for me? I'm like, right? This is this is the reality. Like, what? Wait, what? Hey, that's something you got to learn. Like, do you then say, okay, wait a minute, I'm gonna call for you, right, dude? Like, when is there too much?
Who's the artist in this equation, right? Like, is it the person
No,
that you're dating, or is it you? Like, who's the artist in this equation?
no. So I'm making an analogy. So
No, I got that part, but I'm just trying to figure out, is it the
it's the other
person that,
person.
yeah, it's the other person that's
Mm-hmm.
the artist.
Yes,
But they want their partner to call for shows for them.
correct.
Okay. Honestly,
Or
that,
or
go ahead.
or just get them business networkings, right?
Yeah.
If it's not even just being an artist, if it's them, they just asking them to, to do extra networking, or go here, go there, call this person, call that person for them, because it's something that they may lack at, right?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it just depends on, it's a lot of things that go along with that, like it is. So if a person's partner says, hey, I need assistance with doing certain things for their own business, I guess, then you have a decision to make. Like you can say, hey, I can help you with this, or I can help you with that. But ultimately, you're in charge of how much help you can provide. Like you can't provide everything per se, but as their partner, you can provide something. Like you can help them with something, right? So
True.
if you can't help them with that portion of it, you can ask, hey, what else can I help you with? Can I help you with something else that does not involve this part right here? Like this part right here?
I'm just saying.
Like you just have
okay,
to ask.
one more example. So what if they want to start a trucking business, right? And they say, hey, I want to start this trucking business and I want you to be the dispatcher. Like what, right? Or, I want you to read this 300-page book about trucking. You're like, huh? What? I want to do that.
Like your feelings are.
I'm just saying, this has happened before. I'm just saying.
What was the question, right? Like the question was what? Like, what if they ask you to do something that's like well above what you want to do?
Yes. They read half the book. They want you to read the whole book.
Oh, man, that is funny. Oh man,
I can't share this video.
Oh man.
Uh-oh.
I mean, honestly, my perspective of it is there is a limit. Like there is, okay? There's a limit to what you can help with. But again, through communication, you have to tell the person that, hey, this is all I can do for you. Like I can do this, but I don't have time to do X, Y, Z. Like I don't have time to do all that. To me, that's my perspective on it. Like, I don't know. Like, what you think, Nrgy?
So it depends. Yes. So if it were me, it could be one of the two responses. One being what Josh said, where it's like, look, I'll help you with this part of it, but you're gonna have to figure out another way to make that happen. Where I'll if a person asks me to show them how to do something because they don't know how to do it or because they're not good at it, and if they think that I'm better at it, then I will have them sit there with me as I make those first few phone calls, as I get online and do whatever it is that I need to do to help them, to show them how to do it so they can eventually, take it over themselves. Or if I don't have the time, and if they don't want to do it and they don't have the time to do it, then the next best option is to hire someone who does. Like that's another way of taking care of whatever the task is. The other option is if it's a business or a goal that my partner is involved in that I'm just as passionate about, then that might be a great collaboration where I'm like, okay, well then I'll come in and be admin, or I'll take over the operational things, you be in the field, and let's make this thing work. So it just depends on what the goal is and if it lines up with what I have, vision for myself, or even just something that I'm super passionate about as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, that actually poses a whole bunch of different narratives there, because I think we went from a person that may not have goals to a person that has a goal that is now part of your goal to a certain extent too, because they need help with their goals. So it's like if you have goals that you're working on, but they need help with their goals, so you're helping with your goal, you're doing your goal, plus you're helping with their goal too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's actually really common. That's quite common in relationships where we both have our own goals, and one or both of us needs help from the other person.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really common. I mean, that's what a whole relationship is about, you know, coming in and you know, filling in the gaps, or, you know, taking over. I'll just go back to what I was saying, filling in the gaps where the other person, you know, needs that assistance in. That's what partnership is about.
Yeah, it is. But
When it makes sense.
thank you. There you go. There you go. There you go.
Yes.
Hey, it gotta make sense, like it
Yes.
does, especially
Yes.
when it comes to like personal goals and achieving the things that you want for your life. Because I don't know. I think to me, you don't want to get too far locked into your partner's goals, where you're splitting your time between your stuff and then their stuff, and you're not going to be effective. Like your effectiveness is actually going to get lowered because you're splitting yourself too far. Like you're spreading yourself too thin.
Mhm.
So to me, I think there is again a limit to how much help you can provide,
Yep.
especially on a personal goal standpoint, because it's not like this is a couple's goal thing where, oh, we gotta save money for Jamaica or something like that. Like obviously both parties can save money on something like that. But if your goal is, you know, again, trucking company, weight loss, or any number of those things, it's really not much your partner can do for you. Like it's really not a lot per se. They can do some things, but I mean, the person has to do the rest.
True, true, true.
Me, that's my thought on that.
Yep.
So to summarize it all up, we gave a whole bunch of different perspectives here about personal goals, about personal goals. And I think from a personal goal standpoint, it's your personal goals are always to me achievable inside of a relationship. They are. You just have to make sure that the communication about your personal goals and the continued communication about your personal goals is there, so that there's understanding, there's time for you to split between achieving personal goals and actually relationship, right?
Yep.
True.
And putting it all out on the table, I think that helps as well. You know, putting it all out there on the table and being very specific about, you know, what it all is and what you may or may not need help with, what your expectations are of your partner, and what your partner's expectations are of their involvement. Putting it all out there on the table, I believe, would really help. And throughout the relationship, having those follow up meetings, you know, where whether it be weekly or bi weekly, where you both are coming back. Because Josh, this goes to what you were saying, how you have to make sure that you're not putting too much time in your partner's goals where it's affecting your own goals. Having those follow up check in meetings
Yeah.
where you can both say, hey, okay, is this still going well for both of us? Or nah, like this is draining me. It's affecting what I have going on. We need to figure something else out. So it goes with the communication aspect, but definitely maybe inputting or incorporating check-ins, you know, regularly throughout the process of whatever the goal or the project is.
Yeah. Yeah. My final notes down there, sir. What you got?
I've learned a lot. Thank you.
You look like this was your conversation. Like, no, okay. It's adding
No,
perspective.
no, no.
Okay.
It's just again, it's just learning how to balance it all out, right? Because there are times where you already are in this situation where you can't necessarily, you know, lay it all out on the table because it becomes a whole nother conversation. It could become offensive or so I think the goal is just the communication aspect and setting those boundaries also as far as what you can do and what you cannot do as far as helping someone, and just trying, right? Just actually trying.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So on that note, thanks for tuning in. Another episode, Adding Perspective with Josh. I'm Josh.
Coach Nrgy.
I'm the guy with the bad camera.
Wow. All right.
Love it. Love it.
See you next time. Adding perspective.